Hello and welcome to Oceania Weekly. I am Stephanie Greenfield. Dominion Road Moon Festival has welcomed the Mid-Autumn Harvest Festival by a mega 3-day event at Potters Park and Mount Eden War Memorial Hall. It was organised by the Albert Eden Local Board, Auckland Balmoral Chinese Business Association, Dominion Road and SkyKiwi.com. The festival started last Friday, corresponding to the lunar calendar, with a full moon night, which is notably celebrated by Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean and many other Asian communities. Multicultural dancers and performers gave a colourful show during the event. Among the performers were Hannah Fang, MAA Golden Ballads, Folklore Chileno Latino, Russian and Ukrainian folk group, Filipino Kala Orb and Samuti Sari dancers, Shanti Niwas, Samoan dancers, Beijing Opera, K-pop planets and Pacifica drumming group. Various art galleries, exhibitions, cooking workshops and food stalls were set up for the attendees to enjoy the celebration. The opening ceremony was graced by Mayor Phil Goft, various community leaders and supporters. Chinese Construction Bank is a major event sponsor. Korea-New Zealand Cultural Association, celebrating the lunar festival called Chuseok, also joined the event with their Korean circle dance and Korean food making workshop featuring kimchi and sanjok, led by Diane Lee of KNZCA and Happy World TV. Jung Myung-ang from Won Buddhism supported the traditional play, as well as fashion designer Cecilia Kang. The Moon Festival turned out to be a colourful event which brought together harmony among multicultural communities in Auckland. Shanti Niwas Charitable Trust celebrated its 25 years anniversary by a fundraising gala last Saturday at the Sudama Hotel in Auckland. Shanti Niwas is a non-profit organisation founded in 1998 which works with socially isolated senior citizens of India and South Asian origin living in the Auckland region, New Zealand. The organisation continuously provides programs and activities for the senior members of the community, as well as assistance, counselling and temporary accommodation for those elders abused in family disputes or separated from their homes. Nellie Ma Van Kett, General Manager of the Shanti Niwas, said it was indeed a proud moment for the team who have been instrumental in providing such services to the elders. Members of Parliament, community leaders, Asian Network and invited guests present at the event lauded the works of Shanti Niwas for the last 25 years. Mayor Phil Goft, Michael Wood, Paula Garcia and Simon Bridges are among the personalities who have graced the event. The New Zealand Korean Sports Council launched the Korean-New Zealand sports team last Saturday in Auckland. The event was made to raise funding for the 105 athletes who will be coming from New Zealand and will represent Korean-New Zealand community in the upcoming Korean National Sports Festival in Seoul this October. The event was hosted by Mr. Sin Pyo-hong, President of the Korean Sports Council in New Zealand, and graced by Mr. Uno Kim from Korean's Consular's Office and Ms. Kyung-suk Wilson, the President of the Auckland Korean Society. Mr. Tony Kim of World TV was the Master of Ceremony during the event. The council sought for donations from the Korean community in Auckland to support the athletes. Crude oil prices have surged more than 19% after a drone strike on the Saudi Arabian oil facility wiped out about 5% of global supplies. Brent prices jumped as much as $11.73 to $71.95 a barrel in early trading in Singapore. State energy producer Saudi Aramco lost about 5.7 million barrels per day of output on Saturday after 10 unmanned aerial vehicles struck the world's biggest crude processing facility in Abqaiq in the kingdom's second biggest oil field in Kuris. For oil markets, it's the single worst sudden disruption ever, surpassing the loss of Kuwaiti and Iraq petroleum supply in August 1990, when Saddam Hussein invaded his neighbour. It also exceeds the loss of Iranian oil output in 1979 during the Islamic Revolution, according to the data from the US Department of Energy. New Zealand petrol prices could reach a nightmare $3 a litre following the attacks on Saudi Arabia's oil facilities economist Cameron Bargee said today. Health experts have confirmed the number of measles cases in Auckland alone has risen above 1,000. The total number of cases in the city has risen to 1,007. The most cases have been in South Auckland. But health experts are applauding the public for taking action to prevent further cases of the infection. The medical officer of health from the Auckland Regional Public Health Service says vaccinations have skyrocketed in the past 3 weeks. The Auckland Regional Public Health System said that there are about 18 to 20 new cases on average per day for children below the age of 5 years and young adults between 15 and 29 years of age. The Ministry of Health says there has now been 1,214 cases of the infection nationwide. Measles is one of the most infectious viruses out there. Just being in the same room as someone with the disease is enough to catch it. Auckland secondary school principals are backing the government's plan to ban most vape flavours and saying vaping is reaching epidemic levels among their students. They warn that without firm action, New Zealand will have a new generation of people addicted to nicotine. Associate Health Minister Jenny Salesa said that she would introduce the bill on vape regulation to the Parliament in a few weeks, which would limit vape flavours to tobacco, menthol and mint. Auckland Secondary Principals Association President Richard Dykes said teenage vaping has become a serious problem in some of the city's schools. It seems to be more of an issue in higher income community schools. US President Donald Trump has announced that his administration will ban flavoured e-cigarettes after a spat of vaping-related deaths. Mr. Trump told reporters vaping was a new problem, especially for children. US Health Secretary said the Food and Drug Administration would finalise a plan to take all non-tobacco flavours off the market. There have been 6 deaths across 33 states and 450 reported cases of lung illness tied to vaping. Many of the 450 reported cases are young people with the average age of 19. This month, Michigan became the first US state to ban flavoured e-cigarettes. Details on the New Zealand Government's initial Mental Health and Wellbeing Commission have been announced. The Commission will lay the groundwork for a permanent body, which is due to start work in February 2021. It will provide independent scrutiny of process in improving mental health and wellbeing and promote collaboration among mental health groups. It will also develop advice for a permanent commission, including a work program, outcomes and monitoring framework. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said it will report back directly to the Minister of Health within a year. The Mental Health and Wellbeing Commission will take over from the Mental Health Commission that was disbanded by the National Government in 2012. The British drama Les Miserables will be aired for the first time in Korea. Channel A will be airing the popular British drama at 11 p.m. every Friday and Saturday on its World Drama Special slot. The drama will be aired in 6 pieces. Les Miserables, the classic written by Victor Hugo, has been produced in film and musical. The BBC drama of the story was aired for the first time on BBC in April this year, hailed as the most faithful to the original novel, and recorded 93% on the tomato meter on Rotten Tomatoes, an American film review website. Credit rating firm Moody's has warned of possible downgrades of Korean businesses. In a report, Moody said 19 out of the 27 non-financial state-run Korean companies could see their credit ratings lowered in the future due to deteriorating earnings in the first half of this year. The ongoing US-China trade dispute will continue to negatively affect the earnings of many export-orientated companies. Moody's recently slashed the outlook of SK Hynix, eMart, SK Innovation, SK Global Chemical, and LG Chemical to negative. In July, S&P also warned Korean companies of downgrades in their credit ratings. Global ratings firms have increasingly negative outlook for Korean businesses due to the global economic slowdown compounded by the trade spat between Korea and Japan. Korea has formally asked the International Olympic Committee to ban the Japanese rising sun flag at next year's Tokyo Games, calling it a symbol of Japan's brutal wartime past and comparing it with the Nazi swastika. Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism in Korea said that they have sent a letter to the IOC President Thomas Bach expressing deep disappointment and concern about the Japanese plans to allow the flag in stadiums and other facilities during the 2020 Olympics. Korean Olympic officials last month urged the local organising committee to ban the flag. However, Tokyo organisers responded by saying it was widely used in Japan, was not considered a political statement, and it is not viewed as a prohibited item. The flag, portraying the red sun with 6 rays extending outward, is resented by many Koreans who still harbour animosity over Japan's 1910 to 1945 colonial rule of the Korean peninsula. Australia has joined 3 international allies in urging the United States and China to end their long-running trade war. The Treasurers and Finance Ministers of Australia, Canada, Indonesia and Singapore have warned that the risk of collateral damage from the dispute between the economic heavyweights is growing. The ministers said in a joint statement that they should be clear that protecting free and open markets will ensure stronger growth and greater prosperity for all. Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison is expected to visit bushfire-ravaged regions of Queensland if conditions allow. Thousands fled their homes in the Peregrine Beach region of the Sunshine Coast after a fire allegedly lit by 2 teens became a raging inferno, threatening everything in its way. An elderly woman lost her home in that fire, while others who were evacuated returned to find their verandas, fences and gardens charred. Conditions have eased, but authorities are still scrambling in high fire danger conditions to contain dozens of blazes before temperatures spike again. Now we're going to cross over to Voice of America.
Former FARC rebel leaders announcing in late August they are returning to war. The reason, they say, President Ivan Duque is not implementing the 2016 peace accord. For its part, the Duque government says the accusation has no merit and vows to fight the rearmed rebels.
They will be fought with all the legitimate force of the state. As President Duque has said, the peace policy will continue to be applied with legality for those who comply, and those who fail to comply and commit new crimes will be prosecuted.
Some 13,000 FARC members demobilized under the terms of the peace accord in return for promises of reintegration into society, economic benefits, and guarantees of their safety. But violence continues, especially in rural areas, and reintegrating demobilized rebels has proven difficult for various reasons, says a top advisor to the Ministry of Security and Justice of Cali.
You have to be very fair about something. Not all in that document that raised the needs and agreements had a clear route for being implemented. In other words, it is not so true that the government has simply refused to implement an agreement whose path for implementation was fully clear. It was not.
The announcement by some rebel leaders to resume fighting has been rejected by the FARC's political party, which has representation in Colombia's Congress. Carlos Lozada, a FARC ex-leader now in the Senate, tells VOA while there had been difficulties in implementing the peace accord, he and most other FARC members supported.
What has been ratified is the conviction that the path we chose when we signed the agreement is correct. Therefore, we do believe that even in the midst of the difficulties of implementing the agreements, the vast majority will continue to try to shape that political and social force, together with the different sectors that continue to support the need to implement the agreement in full.
Meantime, Colombia's military has been ordered to locate and capture the rearmed FARC guerrillas who are widely believed to be operating from inside neighboring Venezuela. Celia Mendoza, VOA News, in Bogota, Colombia.
Thank you for joining us here at Oceania Weekly. I'll see you next week.